First time.
I may have to turn my computer, my camera off if my internet.
Okay, we'll call the Bellefonte work session to order. Ken, please shut off your phones, and now it goes for the next meeting as well. Welcome everybody to the Bellefonte Borough Council work session. We'll take no action during the work session, such as making motions or approvals. It's not done during work sessions. So that leads us now into the infamous trivia question.
I'm not ready. We're gonna have to wait.
Come back later.
I have
people
one.
to take the
I'm just not
delivery.
ready.
If you don't, we'll be back up from now on.
So, okay. Catch that the next time. So we'll move into special presentations. And we have, we're going to be talking about Penn State's sustainability projects for the fall of 2022. And Joanne, you have invited her, so you can introduce her.
Most of you are new to this. For the past 5-6 years, the Penn State University has been providing us students to look at and review different kinds of issues in the borough for sustainability purposes. We've had projects that have been very, very successful. A couple that not so successful, but the two biggest ones that I think were really highlighted and really, really good was down at the Musser composting facility. There was a group of students who looked how we could do better composting, and Don then took that project, put it almost word for word into a grant. We got $290,000.
Yeah, it was like 350. It was one of the 902 grants.
$350,000 to improve our composting programs. We've had some on. There was one project that was on an architecture class that looked at a new police station out at the Armory. We had a couple of them that looked at solar energy. We had one that we got a student to come in and start digitizing our records. We've had one that's going to be a 3-part series. We've had part 1. We've got 2 more parts to go on looking at the dam in Talleyrand Park to see whether we want to remove the dam, notch the dam, or make fish steps so the fish can get up over the dam. So we've done the one that was done 2 years ago now. They created a plan to remove the dam. As part of that, they gave us some ideas for landscaping on the peninsula which is what we used to apply for the Bright Cities grant that put in the plants last fall. I invited Ilona today so she could give you a broader view of the kinds of projects that that the Penn State Sustainability Institute does. She is the program manager for all of these student projects, and she can give you more information than I ever could, so that you can listen to her. I told her she'd have about 5 minutes to give us an idea of what's available, what's not available, how it works, and then we brainstorm to figure out what kind of projects we need to get back to her so she can go back to the instructors to see what might be available for the fall. Ilona, it's your turn.
All right, well, thank you very much, and yeah, give me some kind of sign if I come in all broken up, my internet connection isn't the best. So Joanne did a perfect job outlining how our program works. I basically pair up classes, any discipline, with you as the community partner. You identify a project where you'd like to have more information, you might want to have some ideas, or you want to dig a little bit deeper. So the intent for our projects are for students to gain real life experience, to work with a real partner on a real project, nothing made up. And the idea is for you as a local government unit to have some additional resources, a little bit more research, a little bit more in-depth discovery to help you make maybe better decisions, more informed decisions, to have the technical information, for example, to comply with grant requirements and so on, as was the case with the compost facility. So again, these are student projects. Sometimes students just don't do the most stellar work, but you never know, right? And it's a great exercise. Bellefonte is in a nice commuting distance for students, so there can be some real physical interaction, site visits, and so on. I always find it personally really hard when somebody says to me, well, maybe not, but I know it can be really hard to say, okay, now think of a project, quick. So I'm hoping this is just an opportunity for you to put your thinking caps on for the next month. We do have a little bit of time, and let Dawn or Joanne know what you're thinking, what possible projects, and then I can work with Dawn and Joanne to maybe narrow the project down or see if there's faculty available. All this obviously requires faculty buy-in. They need to be willing to take a project on. We have some faculty leaders who are just stellar partners. They are very much in demand. And each faculty runs the program a little bit differently, right? So capacity is definitely an issue we need to be mindful of. So I would just like to throw out there, Joanne also mentioned the dam at Talleyrand Park, exploring a little bit further what would dam removal entail. I have talked with faculty already about this. There is interest for a capstone class, but that class does not meet until the spring semester. I've put in a placeholder with that faculty to consider dam removal at Talleyrand as a spring project for 2023. I know there have been some other projects. We had explored a tree inventory. I have not the greatest luck finding appropriate faculty to do that, but I will try again. I recently actually had an inquiry from a HR professor who we work with every semester. I mentioned it to Dawn, and I know you don't have a big HR department, but sometimes I've found, especially with smaller communities, it might be good to do a refresher on your HR policies, on the books, maybe a review, to know, just to be sure that you're up to date. things change rapidly in the HR world. And, maybe that is an idea for a project. I've also worked with your sustainability group, and maybe there are some things coming out of that. I know for the fall semester, there is a sustainability marketing class that used to just be available in the spring. She is now teaching a fall class, and I was just thinking maybe there is room for some, business students to think about, anything to do with marketing sustainability, So just throwing that out there, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have
It was my
some ideas
5-minute
right
time.
now. I'd be happy to answer that. And otherwise, I'll come back. As I said, I think it's best if I were to meet with Dawn and/or Joanne before your next work session or in a month from now, and then we can finalize projects.
So, real quickly, can you just give a breadth of the types of coursework that has been done, not with just us, but with other things? So, like you've got, I know you had communications, you've had graphic design. What other kinds of classes have you had that might help pick our people's brains?
I had a hard time hearing you, Joanne. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, there are multiple different kinds of classes. You've got like the graphic arts, you've got communications, you've got engineering. What kinds of classes do you have that they can think of so they can help them pick their brain?
Anything and everything. So I know that's not what you want to hear, but think about the Sustainable Development Goals. We deal with social issues like hunger. We deal with issues concerning health and healthcare. We deal with engineering issues that affect our communities, whether it's traffic safety, road design, sidewalk design, complete streets, you name it. We work with food, landscaping, the plant world, animal, the natural world, the natural environment. We have worked with, we had a project, Bellefonte was part of it with the law class. So it really, anything and everything goes, short of building a nuclear reactor or some, military devices. That doesn't quite fit the sustainability banner. Pretty much anything else does.
So, Ralph and Dawn, or Doug, when we had our agenda meeting, we had a conversation about some projects. You guys want to bring those up?
Me?
Well, you and
Yeah, I
Ralph
always
kinda
said,
kicked it around.
I'll be happy to do
Yes,
that,
you want-
unless you want to do it.
Well, you brought it up, it was your idea.
You want me to take all the blame?
Yeah.
Well, I always throw out these really weird things, harebrained, I guess, is a good description. But there are some boroughs in the state that use what's called back-end diagonal parking. And I think some of our streets may benefit. For instance, we just had a study of Spring Street where we were trying to create more spaces. So when I was a kid many years ago on Allegheny Street, those were diagonal parking spaces in front of Plum's Drugs, National Store, G.C. Murphy's, all the old-time stores. But if you go, it would be interesting to me to have this group, and she mentioned traffic and safety, streets issues, if they would take a look at our streets and maybe make a recommendation, good or bad, if back-end diagonal parking might work on some of our borough streets. They actually if you read about them, they turn out to be a little safer. It's instead of pulling forward, or instead of pulling into this diagonal space, you actually go beyond it and you back in, and Not that I have a car with a backup camera, but it's pretty easy. It's a lot easier than doing parallel parking. And it's safe exits for people that are going to the curb. And it's much easier to see traffic when you're pulling out of the space. What am I missing?
You gain a few spaces.
And we hopefully gain some
And
spaces.
it's also a traffic calming measure where
Yeah,
the street is
yeah.
narrowed visually
Right,
and physically too, and you slow down going through town.
right. Thanks, Ralph, for
Yeah.
reminding me of that.
Sure.
So it was something we talked about a year or so ago, just mentioned it. And then when we were brainstorming for ideas, the three of us said, well, that might not be a bad suggestion. So I'm going to make that recommendation.
I like that one.
Okay.
Terrific. I will explore that. We have traffic engineering as a discipline, and I recently spoke with a faculty member there. So let me explore that, and hopefully I'll have an answer for you within a month.
Yeah, what's the downside to diagonal
I
parking?
mean, what's the study and the, I mean, sounds, everything you said sounds amazing. More space, safer, slower traffic.
Yes.
And
The downs-
generally
The
better.
downside is the width of the road. Do we have the width of
Right.
the road?
Is that the
I was going to tell you what that is, but Joanne will tell. I'll be
I
quiet.
saw that when we were in Hershey, and I had my husband's truck, and I saw the signs where it said that back in diagonal parking,
Yeah.
going, no.
See, I've never seen it.
I would
That's,
need a different
that's why I'm,
spot for
I
that.
don't
Holding
understand.
it up.
I guess I don't.
A
but
place
it's-
that I would really recommend is in Center Hall. When you're going through their main street, all of those folks back out into that really fast you pull in,
Yeah.
but if you would reverse that to backing in,
It makes it much
appears to me
safer.
it would be way safer than what it is now.
So you would turn the spot, like, for example, coming into Center Hall, you would turn the spots,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
So you would just do this to pull out.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's a safer exit for you when you're
Yeah.
going to the curb. The thought is, it was once in existence in Bellefonte, but, and it probably won't be ideal for all the streets, but maybe for some of them it might work.
Yeah.
But it will take
If-
some getting used
If I may
to.
suggest, if nothing else, maybe a comparison study. I know Baltimore has back-in parking, as you mentioned, diagonal parking. You know, maybe as part of a project, a study as to how it's affected things in other municipalities.
Yeah.
You know, to help answer some of those questions.
That would be great. Yeah.
Here's a thought, I mean, but this kind of but bouncing off of what you just said, is we're trying to get more bicycling.
Yes.
You know, Gina is very much into that.
Yes.
We currently don't have any bike paths here in Bellefonte. It would be nice to find out where we could put bike paths for both safety for the cyclists and for the pedestrians and for the cycle and the drivers, so that we,
Yeah.
and would we require just a painted line, or do we have to have like a median strip? And it's what-
So that's a little bit broader,
Yeah.
but could be in the same study. It's
Right.
more like a complete streets
Right.
study. I think that's a good idea. But, you know, at least the downtown, the core, what we call the T area, or maybe over, you know, from Howard all the way over to Bishop
Mhm.
and all that, you know, Allegheny down to Water or something like that.
But do you recall the boroughs that we looked at that do,
Well, Lewisburg has
Yeah.
the pull-in angle, right off the top of my mind.
Yeah, I'm trying to think
Lewisburg's the
the one that
closest
has
one
the
I can
back.
think of. I'm not sure about the back end,
Yeah.
where that's
I'll
at.
Google it and find it.
I think it's one of those things where, whether it's pull in or back in, and, you know, I was around when we had the pull in angle,
Mhm.
and it was the full T
Okay.
of both Allegheny and High Street.
Yeah.
And it worked out well, but cars were smaller, and other vehicles might have been smaller at the time.
I don't
But
know,
even,
they
you
might
know,
have
if
been
you're,
larger.
if you're pulling in, the only downside to that is when you have to back out, and that stops traffic. Same thing could occur when you're backing in, but backing in still may be quicker. I don't know. You know, yeah, you said it worked once, it would work again. I think the reason it changed was they thought we were getting more more spaces changing it to parallel. I don't remember the whole thing about it, but it will narrow the two
street.
streets.
Around the intersections, it would get tighter. Your turning lanes would get tighter, so you'd have, but you want people to go slow in town, so you'd be going slower, and maybe you'd wait an extra 30 seconds before you make your turn versus going into a turning lane. I think they did away with it, I'm assuming, so they put turning lanes in like at Bishop and Allegheny, Howard and Allegheny has a turning lane, left-hand turn.
Spring Street.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that's why they, started to cut up everything and push cars back. But it makes cars go faster through town.
And that would help with the concerns we had last year that we decided not to do anything
Yeah.
with it in the end.
Yes.
So send your letters in.
We need to speak up for the audience.
Other thoughts?
If not, we've hit our 20 minutes.
Well, like Randy, or like Ilona said, and Randy and Joanne, if you have ideas, we're not trying to hit you cold. We have at least to the next meeting to get ideas formulated and get them back to Ilona. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind. We'll maybe check in with you at the next meeting, see
Yeah,
if
so,
there's any.
so someone asked me at the beginning, do we have to vote on these projects? And I think what we do is we give her all the ideas we have. Ilona then goes and finds out what we can and cannot do, and then she can bring that back. And if she says they can only do 2 or 3, then we would have a vote. But if we do all of them, let's go for it.
Yes, so we have no scheduled vote this evening. We're just very early in the process.
If I may, just throw one opportunity out there. I was recently approached by Nittany AI. It's another program of Penn State. If you have a data source and you want to explore something that involves data, think about that. Think about how artificial intelligence may inform your decisions. Nittany AI puts student teams, interdisciplinary student teams, to a problem, a project, and they come up with a solution. It's very competitive. I hope, did I lose you?
No.
Okay, so anyway, I'm just putting it out there. If you have data and want to explore a database project, that's an opportunity. But other than that, I thank you for your time and your thoughts. I'll certainly explore with our traffic engineers and wait to hear about any other ideas you may bring to the table.
So
Thank you.
Lana, one real quick question. I think the biggest data set we have is finances. Would something like that be?
Well, it depends, what you want to do with your money. Or, for example, what I was thinking, if you had any data on commuters to Bellefonte, to determine, or out of Bellefonte, maybe you want to determine whether public transportation would be an option, or you want to determine, again, some traffic-related issue. AI can sort some of these things out very effectively, but again, I'm not quite sure if it's applicable to Bellefonte. Having the data at your fingertips, is kind of a given. I just threw it out there, and we can explore it a little bit more
Okay.
later on.
Thank
All right,
you.
well, thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us this evening.
Thank you
Elena,
very
thanks for
much.
taking time out of your vacation
Yes.
to join us this evening.
Yes,
Much appreciated.
very much
Yes,
so.
enjoy.
Thank you, it's more like a workcation anyway, so, well, thank you, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the dual membership with PSAB and PA Municipal League. I brought this up because our Delta group that we work with out of Harrisburg, I think, how long ago, suggested to try not to duplicate areas of where we can save some money. This is one of those areas. Ralph, you want to go ahead and
Well,
see how?
I have a handout in
how we
front
get
of
into
you.
both of them. I
I'm
guess.
sorry. I have a handout I put up in front of you that has the Borough Association rates as well as the municipal league rates. Take a look at that.
So the dues for the PSAB is $854, and the dues for PML is for $1,486.08.
That's, we
And
were,
we're in our third year.
right, we joined, as you can see the schedule there, we joined starting in 19 at a discounted rate, and it's creeping up to 2024 where we pay the full amount. I can tell you over my time here, this league used to be called, or this association was the League of Cities for the longest time. And we were invited to join several times and went to, association dinners and whatnot. But usually when it came down to it, our finances were always tight. It is nice, I'm not saying it isn't nice to join, it's a similar association to the Boroughs Association and certainly has some strengths. But we've always favored the Boroughs Association, number one, because the fees much lower, and secondly, they only focus on boroughs, council members, mayors, borough managers, secretaries, treasurers. When you go to the conferences, you'll run into the same people, or people doing the exact same things that we do, versus maybe you go to a league meeting, you might run into someone from a township or a city, first class or second class or third class city. Their codes are a little bit different. So most of the time, the legislation that is being proposed and legislators are looking at tend to be very similar. I don't think, probably in few cases, like maybe they're promoting the township code or a city code, a change, but your right to know legislation, your ethics legislation, unfunded mandates, those are typically the same. Even the association personnel get together and work together, going to the legislators and promoting kind of a unified front when they go and talk to the legislators. So typically they're on the same page. Police radar, usually on the same page for local government. Those types of things are almost always on the same page. But because they gave us a discount here a few years ago, we decided to try it out, and off and on it has come up in the budget season, even last fall. But because we were in the discount period, we left it in the budget, so we're in for this year. But that's my 2 cents on being dual members. There are boroughs that are members of both, but maybe their budget's a little bit bigger than ours.
Are there any funding or grant opportunities through PML that we've taken advantage of, or that we would be missing out on, that would more than offset the cost of the dues?
The only thing I can think of is be the PELRAS discount, but we haven't sent anybody to, so it's
That
the,
and the sustainability stuff. I checked it this morning, and as a member, we could send the sustainability conference is June 21st, this month. As a member, any one of us can go for $25. If we're not a member, it's $100. So it's 4 times more expensive if we were to send. FYI, I've already paid to go to that one, so borough, I would have to think twice about the 100 because of my finances, but for the 25, I just paid for it and I'm going. So.
Yeah, I was trying to think of things that would be more than offset by the dues.
I think the PELRAS thing is like $400.
450, I think that's all.
for, per person. So if we were to send, say, Ralph and Don and a couple of the supervisors, that could quickly take care of that
Yeah.
whole PELRAS training.
Yeah.
What is that training?
It's a special training really geared towards the renewal or the planning and the efforts that go into renewing union contracts with the police.
It's employee labor relations essentially.
PELRAS stands for Public Employees Labor Relations Advisory Service.
So basically, you brought this up because you thought maybe we were spending money on things that we might
I
not have
think
to
it's
spend money on.
we are
And
duplicating it and not following, you know, if we're gonna follow,
I don't know why we would spend that almost $2,000 to be part of that if it's not something that we can all jump out and say it benefits us. How does it benefit us to be in the PSAB for 854? Is that the thing that you and Barbara Dan just went to and okay. And that's $854 a year, and that's similar to what?
Almost identical,
Okay.
except for sustainability. But when I look at sustainability, I want to sustain this borough. And I think the rest of the state sustainability issues will fall into place once we can sustain our borough with the tax base that we have. So I was on when we originally joined this and on council, and when we decided to join it, it was free. And we thought, well, let's give it a try, see how it benefits the borough. And as long as they're waiving the fee, we're fine. And then they agreed to that, and my question was, well, if we decide to take the free waiver, are we required to stay in it to pay the additional fees? And they said, no, you can drop out at any time. So now I see and I learn that the two organizations are very similar. And we seem to have a really good network in the PSAB organization, and we're close to Harrisburg, so we can knock on our legislators' doors. So I'm not in favor of spending the money to remain into it, because it's so closely duplicates what we are already.
We're paid up for 2022, right?
I believe so. I think the dues are paid in January.
Yeah, it's already almost, well, it is
Yeah.
June, isn't it? Is it June? It's June.
I thought they'll come up in
No, I mean, they
September.
sound great.
What's that?
These things sound great, you know,
I
just, you
I
know.
think we paid them. I'd have to
I'm
double check.
not, I'm not against it, that's just a lot of money. And, you know, I don't know that anybody that voted for me wants me to spend $2,000 on something I can't even explain. Nor did I really know what it stood for.
So,
I understand you guys went and had a good time at that meeting. I'm glad that's only $854, but I don't know
Well,
if that's
out
gonna
of
be
that,
going
I
up.
mean, out of the boroughs association, there's about, I'm gonna say 890 boroughs.
950.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
950.
out of that, almost 900 of them belong to the, I mean, almost everybody that's a borough belongs to the Boroughs
Yeah.
Association. So that's,
Yeah.
that representation that they provide is, you know, consistent, because so many of the boroughs are members of the association.
It's our primary lobbyist for our legislatures. to
And
help.
PML does the same thing. The question, I guess, that you all have to ask yourself, you know, are they representing you, you know, as well as maybe the Boroughs Association, and is it worth the additional dollars?
could I give you my thoughts, which are different from what we've heard? Okay, each of these, as I agree, each of these organizations provides different programming and services with overlap. For example, both of them have training programs. We've been using mostly PSAB trainings, but we could further benefit by stepping up our usage of the PML training. The PELRAS one is the big one. Some of the topics are the same, although there's a difference. And my question is, why would we cast out this possibility of additional training? Second, we have two municipal lobbying organizations that we belong to currently that provide us with a larger voice in what policies, programs, and laws are created that impact our community. We are members of the North Central District of the PML, as is Ferguson, Harris, Patton Township, and State College. None of these are members of PSAB. They are either townships or are not categories as a borough. That's in their minds. I think State College is a borough, but they don't. By remaining in PML, we have a different but important voice on policy at the state level. Boroughs are just one kind of governmental structure in Pennsylvania. PSAB focuses only on issues that directly impact boroughs, whereas PML takes a broader systemic view of governments. By being in both organizations, we can have a better say over how our community fits into what boroughs do, but also how we work as a system of government. We have been talking about consolidating our police force with at least 2 other townships. Townships are part of PML, but not PSAB. By maintaining membership in both, I think we could have a say at the state level at working on how consolidation issues between these types of governmental structures could improve. One major area that, as I already mentioned, PSAB does not do is sustainability. PML is the source of the sustainability certification program that Don has been working on for several years, and part of what we want to accomplish as part of our climate action plan. It is also the only organization that holds an annual sustainability conference that I and Don have both found to be very helpful. Leaving PML reduces, in my opinion, our ability to fully participate in this program. FYI, as I said a little bit earlier, the Sustainability Conference is being held virtually on June 21st. Cost, it has a member of PML for each person attending from the borough is $25. If we were non-members, it would cost $100 each. Bellefonte has leadership in both of these organizations through their respective regional or county organizations. Randy, Barbie, Deb, and I have leadership roles in PSAB. I am also the chair of the PML North Central Caucus. Finally, PML is part of the National League of Cities, which focuses on municipal government policies at the federal level. PML passes through information on federal municipal policy from the league to its membership. We would likely lose access to this information for our own advocacy should we drop our membership in PML. So I think for multiple reasons, yes, it does cost us more, but I think dropping it would be somewhat penny wise and pound foolish.
Anybody?
Well, we're in for the rest of the year, so
We're
it
for the
would be
rest of the year.
something we decide or vote on until later in the year anyway, right?
That's on the agenda for tonight.
Oh, that we're gonna vote on not redoing it? I thought okay.
I thought it was coming up, so I thought it was coming up sooner. I didn't know we'd already paid for it.
I can verify that with Lori, but I thought we paid it in January.
I was just rereading how she responded. It said the due for PML were $1486.08, so it sounds like we paid it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's June, so.
Do we use any of the training that Joanne was talking about in PML?
Not everybody. I mean, they're 2 different things. PSAB, a lot of their training is free, webinars or wherever. And even, going down, now we're just talking about dues costs. We're not talking about meeting costs.
Right.
So the municipal league is a little higher I think on that side of it than PSAB is.
I'm just wondering if there's any cost benefits for keeping it because of the training, like if people are actually using it but if we aren't using it and we haven't used it, then that's not really an issue, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not really a plus for keeping it.
Yeah, I don't know, because over the last, with the 2 years of COVID, everything was virtual. And most of the training that we did was through PSAB.
Well,
Joanne and Dawn may have done others, but
I think Gina used a lot of PML's
Yeah.
training as well.
So we're gonna be voting on it tonight at the agenda, whether or not we
yeah, or it
want
could be
to-
tabled, whatever you want.
Whether or not we want to stay in it. Okay.
That 10 minutes is up, so we'll move on to discussing current goal action items and removing evaluation of metered parking and fees and hours. So I highlighted some things on my sheet that I got. Now, the Armory property sold, but it's still in red. So should that not be in green?
Well, I personally am gonna throw this in now.
Okay.
I think we need to redo the color scheme because when you see red and green actually say about the same thing.
Yes, and
completed,
that's
completed.
coming up. What I'm suggesting with the color scheme is that blue become our first color because it's issues still to work on. Yellow would be 2, they're in progress. 3 would be completed, and 4 would be no longer active.
Okay,
That would be the red.
so 4 would be, or 3 would be green. Okay, so, no longer, okay. So, yeah, I think we need to clarify or the definition of the colors and clean this up a little bit.
Yeah, and then what I also like to see is whichever color, blues with blue, greens with green, reds with red, yellows with yellow. But right now, they're
Yes.
They're
mixed
all
But that's
around.
because of
bunched
mishmash
around.
from the beginning of the year.
But what you
It was clean at the beginning of
Yes,
January.
yes, yeah, right, it needs tweaked, I
Yeah,
agree.
and then we talked about the contract for the street paving. The contract's been approved, yet something here about a priority request, I'm not quite sure, I don't remember us discussing that.
Let me see where
Where
it's.
you at?
Contract for street paving, it's another red one.
Priority request, I don't remember why we put that in there. We did update, no, we didn't update the numbers. I'll have to check into what we
Yeah,
were
so
getting at.
in my view, that should be green as well. And then the evaluated meter parking fees and hours, if we take that out, that would go to number 4, which would be no longer active. We didn't do anything with it. We talked about it at the last meeting, but there didn't seem to be much interest in doing that at this time. It can always be done next year if they want to review that again. And then we have Union Cemetery long-term health. There's a committee that works on that, and I'm not quite sure whether that should still be in blue or whether that should be somewhere else.
Well, blue's ongoing, it's
Yeah.
probably blue, Randy, I think. It's because it's just an ongoing issue.
Okay, that's fine.
And, I mean, that hasn't been updated, but they've been meeting fairly regularly.
There's even a
So-
work.
So why is police policies blue when we haven't done anything on that?
Issues still being worked on,
I think that,
ongoing.
the police, Chief Weaver is working on the policies, we're not.
Okay,
But I think it's kind of like the first holding area.
okay, okay.
And then we have a thing, look into a platform similar to Constant.
Constant contact, that's what that means.
That needs to be fixed then.
Some sentences obviously are cut off with this form.
When you redo this, can you have the Excel spreadsheet kind of expand so that we can actually see what's missing?
I personally have tried, but obviously I haven't got it figured out.
It's still better than what we had. I mean, it
Yeah.
really was just kind of
Yeah.
it's to keep us on track as to what we're
Yeah.
working on, and,
And then-
making some
So-
slight changes is okay.
Another one is
So-
North Spring parking space length. That was looked at. They couldn't come up with any additional parking spaces by just making some of them shorter. So that should probably go to no longer active. That should go to red,
Okay,
because according to Matt, nothing can be done.
right.
I don't understand, and maybe you can explain, what the difference is between in progress and working on. Working on and in progress to me sound like exactly the same thing, which are your current blue and yellow.
In progress seems like it's been decided upon, and it's in progress of taking place where issues will be worked on. Still ongoing, sounds like you're still meeting about it and deciding how you're gonna move it to in progress. That's the way I look at it, but
I think
could
it
be
needs
wrong.
clarified. I think we needed, the blue is, I think was meant to be put it on the list so we keep track of it, kind of
Okay,
as the
so
first.
yet to be determined might be a better way to put
Yeah,
that.
it definitely needs rewording, because I think that's the problem, some of these definitions are almost identical.
Yeah,
So we could then, instead of having yellow second, put yellow first, and then put blue on 2. you know. So you'd have yellow 1, blue 2, and then 3 and 4 would stay the same. And police main
So,
office
just out of curiosity,
consolidation.
one more question. So if the completed would be things we've already done, we did something, and it could be, and then the completed, and that was the green. The red is either a decision was made and we're not going to proceed on it, or,
It's no longer active.
right, so,
There's
okay.
no war, it's just no longer active.
Okay. So, okay.
And then we have SCAD, am I in the right line? No, police main office consolidation, that's, was that staffing?
It's underway, we approved a RFP for a design, and we should be seeing that design pretty soon.
The main office consolidation was
Oh,
the
I'm
two
sorry,
That's
ladies moving
staffing.
upstairs.
I thought you said something about police.
No, well, yeah, it is police
Okay.
main office
Oh, yeah.
consolidation, so that was,
It was
Yes,
Karen and
Yeah.
Gabby.
we talked about that, let me see how I have it worded here. I'm always trying to look at where you're talking about.
it's on the second page.
Bottom, second one up on the
Yes.
bottom
When it
row.
wasn't completed, wasn't added. in
Yeah,
that.
what
That's-
I have here is working on staff policy as the note. The physical consolidation is done. We're updating the staff policies and that kind of thing.
So could that be separated into two things? Because that to me is actually two different issues.
Mhm.
It's
It
actually
is.
the physical
Yeah.
move, and then a
Yeah.
policy is something separate.
Yeah, we can do that, sure.
Is this basically police policy, or is this
No,
borough
staff,
admin policy?
staff policy.
Just kind of incorporating them and us into each other's
Yeah, we gotta-
work so
yes.
that they,
Yeah.
consolidate the staff. They can do a little bit of what our staff does, our staff
Yes.
can help them out.
Yes.
Okay. And then we just move that to its own goal.
What does meeting with contractors and owners regarding mean? And this is up to the survey being,
It's cut off.
yeah, I have no idea.
That's related to code services.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
That's interested in meeting with building code contractors and owners who went through the process.
That's one we'll be coming up on here, I think. We've been waiting on this one for a while. That's all I pulled out of it,
Okay.
so,
What we'll do, I'll do a draft, we'll look at it with, at the next agenda planning meeting. And then we'll put everything back in the next meeting packet.
okay. And then as far as removing, what do we have that here? The metered parking, did we do that by motion? Did I do it during a meeting?
I don't think it.
I don't think
have to
so.
be-
No.
Yeah, we don't
So
have to be
This is
that
just a
formal.
guide.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just a guide.
Could I give you a little bit of extra information on
Sure.
this plant 40 trees and right-of-ways from Bright Cities?
Yeah,
I got a phone call this afternoon from Waterkeepers, which is part of the Susquehanna River Basin Consortium.
uh-huh.
And they wanted to know more about the project with Bright Cities. And the guy I talked to said he was very impressed, and he was really pleased with what we were doing, and he was going to report that back to Susquehanna River
Great.
Basin.
All right,
So,
nice. Very good.
Thanks. Okay, so I think that's, time's up for that, and we'll move on to consider an economic strategic planning work session in September prior to developing the next annual budget.
Well,
Mr. Stewart.
basically, I think it'd be best to have a work session prior to the budget season. You know, it just seems logical to plan your goals first and then align the resources after that. You know, I'm not saying we can't do anything in January as far as more of a, maybe a 3 to 5 year look ahead. But the annual look ahead, we should do that in September. We can go over, and we're trying to figure out a good way of doing this. Might take us a couple times at it, but we look at each fund, because that's how we operate. You know, revenue, expenditures of each fund, each area, such as parks, streets, garbage collection, and so on, and kind of give you kind of what's in there and the amounts. And then we could get your feedback on setting goals and objectives for the next year. And then when we go through the budgeting, planning, and working, we try to put your goals in there first, you know, try to get those accomplished, and then see whatever money's left over, you know, we'll at least have accomplished your goals. So some of this has come out of the strategic management plan that we did a year or so ago, where they kind of said, do this, you know. So I just was reading that and looking over that and thought, you know, that should be done around September when we start to really get into the budget process. So that's really my interest in.
So we're looking at a work session, the first meeting in August or the second meeting in August? Which one would you
I
like
was
to put
gonna
that?
say maybe the first meeting in September would be, I think would be ideal.
So I know that when some of the trainings that I had early on, when I
Yes.
was on the finance committee,
Yes,
was that they suggested we have this type of meeting in August,
Okay.
not September.
Yeah.
Because because then we get into the weeds. I know that last year when on the finance committee, we ended up having a lot of hard crunch time at the end. So if
Yeah.
we were just to start in August rather than September, I think that would ease the strain in November and December.
let me say this, the reason there's a strain, it's, you know, we have a deadline, number one.
Right.
We have to have a budget by December
Right.
31st.
Right.
But keep in mind, the more information, we heard about data, we had Ilona, and you even brought up finances. Data, the more data you have, the less forecasting you have to do.
Right.
So if you start in August, you only have numbers through July.
But what I'm thinking of is that if we're doing goal setting, we
Yes.
don't need numbers at
Yeah.
that time. And what you had just previously said was that we could come up with our goals and thoughts and ideas.
Yeah.
We could work on that in August and then start putting
Yeah.
numbers in
So
September.
so
That's
let's
what
do
I'm-
that. Let's just
Yeah.
move it to August, because
Okay.
we're not going to decide of anything that
Sure.
we're doing. It's just, let's work
Yes.
into it. And if we
Okay.
need it again in
Yes.
the second meeting of August, that gives us more time.
All
Okay?
right.
So that's what I got listed for the first week, for the first meeting in August
Second.
2022. First meeting.
Second meeting, did you say?
First meeting first, then we have the second meeting if we need it.
Who's on first?
Who's on third?
Start it all down here. Trust me.
I think we can do it in one meeting. We'll shoot for the first meeting in August, and I think we can be pretty successful in doing that.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? All right, seeing none, we'll adjourn until 7:30.
One trivia question I have. I know you've been wanting, I sent it to you, but try to give it a minute, all right?
Sure, sure.
All right, located in the Grape Coast region of Pennsylvania, the city of blank has 4 thriving wineries and is home to the largest Welch's grape processing plant in the country. How about that, right here in Pennsylvania? Located in the Grape Coast, John, I see you thinking over there, the Grape Coast region, I didn't even know we had a Grape Coast region in Pennsylvania. The city of blank,
Erie. Is it Erie?
no,
No, it's not.
it's
Is it in the northeast?
the city of,
Is it in the northeast?
It is in the northeast.
So that's the wine.
I don't know that. That just sounds like the answer.
It's in Northeast.
I was on the Susquehanna Wine Trail once.
Isn't it a town called Northeast?
It is. The city of
Didn't I say that?
Northeast.
Didn't I say that?
Well, you sort of did.
I mean, in Jeopardy, that would have been accepted as an answer.
Well, I did ask somebody.
Oh, you
The
didn't
city
say
of
what it is.
Northeast has the largest Welch's
Never heard of
grape
it.
processing plant in the country, right here in Pennsylvania.
Wow,
How about that?
nice.
We like our wine.
Yeah.
All righty. I'll call to order the Borough of Bellefonte Council meeting. It's 7:30 PM. Welcome everybody to the Bellefonte Borough Council meeting. We'll do our best to start council meetings on time and end on time. Due to room acoustics, please speak up when talking so people can hear what we're saying at the back of the room. All comments and reports will be kept to 3 minutes maximum. At this time, we'll rise for pledge of allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for all the mass shootings that have been going on and affecting the families and the victims.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Stewart, roll
Mr.
call.
Bernier?
Here.
Mr. Brackbill?
Here.
Ms. Clayton?
Here.
Ms. Stanz excused. Mr. Johnson?
Present.
Ms. McKean?
Here.
Ms. Purnell?
Here.
Ms. Sedgwick?
Here.
Ms. Tosti Vasey?
I'm here.
Mayor Johnson is excused. Sorry about that.
Okay. So in accordance with Act 65 of 2021, if a matter is not on the agenda, council cannot take official action on it with some exceptions. The council can act on matters relating to potential and real emergencies. Council may add a matter of agency business to its agenda through majority vote. Council should state the reason why an action is being added to the agenda. I'll call in Ms. Tosti Vasey. She has a correction for the agenda.
Okay, we need to have a vote this evening. Monday, June 20th is the scheduled federal Juneteenth holiday. It is also the scheduled date for our second meeting of the month. We have previously said that we would not hold council meetings on federal holidays. When we set up the meetings for this year, we forgot to make that change for this particular meeting. So what we need to do is move this meeting from the 20th to the 21st, and that's what the additional item is.
We can take care of that now if you want to make a motion.
So I'd like to make a motion to move the June 20th meeting to Tuesday, June 21.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Johnson. Motion by Ms. Tosti Vasey. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion to move our June 20th meeting to June 21st, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Communications.
First one's a thank you letter from Tom Zilla. He was a retiree from the Center Region Planning Office. Very nice thank you letter.
I think that was in the packet for everybody. It's a nice response from him. It was nice to see them.
Yes.
Best of luck to him.
Yes. Also, another thank you letter from HBI, or the group that does the Easter egg hunt, and many of the nonprofits in town, and many people who help donate and volunteer for that very large event. Very nice thank you letter, and of course the borough was a helper in that event, so it's there for your review. Next item is a notice about CATA, the Center Area Transportation Authority organization is going to have an open house on the 9th in regards to accessible transportation. I believe it's all day at the Nittany Mall Shopping Center. You're welcome to stop in and see what they have as far as accessible transportation. Next item is just an email received regarding property maintenance issues, has been forwarded to our code administrator. The next item is Bellefonte Area School District Homecoming Parade for 2022. Looking for approval based upon the information that was provided in the letter.
Yeah, I'll call for a motion and second to conditionally approve the 2022 Homecoming Parade on September 29th, 2022, beginning at 6 p.m. at the elementary school, continuing south on Allegheny to Bishop Street and east on Bishop Street to Rogers Stadium. And I'm making it conditional based on their letter of things could change. So I thought we'd just leave an opening there for them to come back and
So
provide
moved.
those changes.
I'll second it for now.
Joanne and Rita. Okay, any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next on the Union Cemetery Work Party, it's June 11th, 9 to 12, and it does involve headstone cleaning, and it's recommended you bring some of your own materials if you have them, but there'll also be instruction on site. Again, June 11th, this coming Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., Union Cemetery. That's all I have.
Did they say how much interest they had the first time? I've seen a few people over there, but I'm just
I
curious.
just saw the flyer.
20, I think 20 people, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I might walk over there, see what I'm doing Saturday. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. We have 2 council meetings, the minutes of May 2nd and the minutes of May 16th. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion, Clayton.
Clayton makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second Sedgwick.
Sedgwick. Second. Discussion?
I have one correction in the May 2nd meeting minute notes, page 6. Public comment, Barry Croker. His spelling needs to be corrected to Kroeker. It's listed as Crocker. That's all I have. Page
I
6.
got it. I got
Do you have
it.
KROC?
Kroeker is the correct spelling.
Okay. That's easy enough. Any other? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda of council meetings of May 2nd and council meetings of May 16th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And I'll just add with correction, spelling correction.
Got it.
Okay, we move into reports. The mayor is not with us this evening. He does have a proclamation. I guess this is, where am I stuck here? Well, I guess I'll read this for the mayor. This proclamation to designate May 15th to the 21st as 2022 as National Police Week. This was overlooked at that time, so we're taking care of it now. In 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day and the calendar week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas the members of the law enforcement agency of the Bellefonte play an important role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of our community, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and the responsibilities of their police department, and that members of our department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, protecting them against violence or disorder, and protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas our police department has grown to be a modern and scientific law enforcement agency which unceasingly provides a vital public service. Now therefore, I, for Buddy Johnson, Mayor of Borough of Bellefonte, do recognize the week of May 15th to 21st, 2022 as National Police Week, and further extend appreciation to our Police Chief Sean Weaver and to all the law enforcement officers for their vital service as they perform their exemplary dedication to the community they serve. And I would add, if we could put that on the calendar somewhere so we don't miss this next year.
Already done.
Okay, so that takes care of the mayor and Chief Weaver. You have a,
In front of you, I put out the flow chart for, to clear up any questions about what happens to a ticket. If anyone has any questions on that flow chart, it's pretty self-explanatory. To date, from 1/1/22 to 5/31 of this year, we have written, our parking enforcement has written 656 tickets. That's a parking ticket that, you know, they print out and it goes onto the dashboard. That's not including the alternate side tickets, which in town, there's certain areas where you can't park because of snow removal on one side or street cleaning. And it's a big hassle for our public works to go around the vehicle at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning. And it keeps the residents on their toes, but we have written 134 of those. Out of the 656 tickets that were written by parking enforcement, 130 of them have gone to citation. So that's where if they don't pay the ticket in a certain time period, we issue a traffic citation. It's basically it's streamlined now where we can, Gabby or Scott can just punch it into the computer. They'll get a printout of all the vehicle owners' names, where state they're from, and it'll generate a citation, and we sign them. It kicks up to the Magisterial District Justice, and they have 10 days in which to respond to that. Now, some of them have gone to warrant, so they can be quite expensive. So just pay the $5 ticket up front, be pretty quick and easy for everybody.
$10, chief. They're $10.
Oh, $10. $10. Yeah. It's been a while since I've gotten one. But the alternate side, I'm still working on how many of those have been gone unpaid, but they're the $15 tickets. So, and actually, Gabby and Scott will be putting that information in every parking report to date. So,
Do you have any idea how many arrest warrants have been issued?
not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. They would have to hand search at the Magisterial District Justice level. Out of those 130, they'll have to hand search. It'll take them a while to figure out how many of those have come back paid. But normally, once it gets to a warrant, they'll either sit in jail or they'll pay their fine. We'll get the money somehow. And we also have we have one that was booted in parking lot. It used to be D, but I don't know what's the north lot, or the waffle shop lot.
It's the south. That makes
South-
sense to me.
That one, yeah. So that individual was booted for several tickets not being paid, and they failed to pay the boot fee, so we just had it towed. So
Where does the booting fit in on this chart? Oh, I see it.
if the vehicle's on a public street where there's a meter, and it does also, we can do it for the parking lots, but if after 48 or 72 hours, that vehicle is still left there with a parking ticket violation, it's not paid, hasn't moved, then we can, the chief can have it towed. So,
That's a lot of parking tickets, chief.
well,
That's
you
over
know, that's a
100
lot of
that's
people
over
are paying
100.
though. I think a lot more people are paying.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Or if they're paying
a month. How many, Gabby and someone else are writing parking
Right.
tickets? Wow. That's a lot of walking around. From January 1 to 5/31, 600 and some tickets.
100 a
lot of
month.
tickets.
100 a month. Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
All right, any questions?
No, I like the chart, makes it easier
Yeah.
to ask you a smart question if we have one.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else non-parking related? Any other questions?
No, we'll catch you
That doesn't require too much
next
thought.
meeting. Office of Community Affairs.
I just have one item for council to approve regarding HARB. That is 134 East Bishop Street, which is the St. John Catholic Church. And they're repointing brickwork on the parish house to match the original brickwork. It's been piecemealed over several decades, so, and that's been recommended for approval by HARB.
Okay, I'll call for a motion and a second to approve 134 East Bishop Street, St. John's Evangelist Roman Catholic Church. All those, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Joanne?
Second, Vernier.
Discussion?
Yeah, I would like to say that having heard what their presentation was, is getting rid of the hard cement. pointing that's in there that's actually damaging the building.
Right.
And putting in the softer mortar that matches the soft brick is a really, really good idea that I think more people should consider, and I'm very impressed that they're going to take that effort. So I just wanted to thank them.
Okay, yeah, yep, they're very excited and happy to be working on that church and the parish house and making sure it's kept up nicely, and so there'll be other projects forthcoming from that church as well.
All those in favor of the motion to approve 134 East Bishop Street, St. John Evangelist Roman Catholic Church, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
And then I really don't have much else to report for you guys, but if there are any questions for me in regards to anything. Okay, all right, thank you.
We're good. Okay, next item, we're back, moving to current and old business. Center County Recycling and Refuse Authority rebate. Recycling rebate was tabled at February 22nd meeting. I'll call for a motion and second to remove the Center County refuse rebate off the table.
I'll make that motion, Clayton.
Clayton, second.
I'll second
Sedgwick. Okay, discussion, seeing none. We'll move that off table. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, so that has come off the table. I'll now call for a motion and second to have Bellefonte Borough keep the rebate for upcoming projects. Do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion, Purnell.
Purnell,
I'll second McKee.
Keane. Discussion.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm not sure what this motion means. Does this mean putting the rebate into our coffers, or does this mean that we give the Center County Refuse back the rebate to the recycling authority so that the rates won't go up as much next year?
I looked at this as we had an option of either keeping the money or giving it back, and I don't think giving it back does anything for what next year's increase might be. They use this toward a specific area, I think, is what, when I read through their letter.
Well, the question on the agenda, I think, is, or stated that it would go back into our
They go
refuse
into our
fund.
refuse, yes.
We'd keep it.
So for the public's purposes, what this might do is reduce some of our other refuse fees, is that
It's
correct?
possible, it's not a lot of money.
Right,
It's about,
rather than reducing the increase that they're telling us we're going to have no matter what next year for recycling because of their issues that they're
it's
having.
likely the recycling costs will go up because the markets are down. We're talking about $2,500 and about $2,532 in some sense.
Uh-huh.
So it's not a lot of money, but we would like to put it back in our account and keep it there to maybe help absorb some of our increases.
Okay,
Yeah, 'cause
but it is going into the refuse fees section?
It goes into the refuse fund. The refuse fund is where recycling and things, recycling is actually a pass-through.
Okay,
It's a pass-through expense that we put on our bill, collect it, and give it to Center County Recycling, that organization. So we don't take a penny, it's just a pass-through expense.
so it's not a fee, well, I guess what I'm confused about is on our bills that we receive, we
Yes.
have a recycling fee.
Yes, and that fee is what the borough pays per customer. We turn around and collect it from each customer in the
Okay.
borough.
So by taking this money back, where does it go?
It goes into our refuse fund because we have costs too. It has nothing to do with recycling.
Okay,
It goes into our refuse service, our expenses, and it goes in as revenue.
okay,
So as I read this, it was $5 per ton per rebate. And that one paragraph basically spoke about rebate, and that's the only place. And then back behind here, it talks about we aren't exempt from increases, our most recent request for municipal waste disposal, and it goes into that. So there's two different items on there that maybe
That, when I
was
was reading,
confusing
I'm trying
part.
to see how they mesh
Yeah,
together,
that-
and that's where I
those-
got confused.
Yeah, those two didn't really mesh together, but. Okay, let's see, so we have that motion. All those in favor of the motion to keep the rebate signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next item is Stuart McLaughlin. When we had our last agenda meeting, or I think the agenda meeting before our last one, we had, at that point, had started the ad hoc committee for short-term rentals, and we wanted to get some more information through our legal associates so that we were not duplicating some items. And so we posed some questions with him during that recent meeting. And basically, the letter that was in there basically covered all of this discussion that we had. So does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. So, North Spring Street, shortening the parking spaces to gain extra spaces. We found that due to obstructions, it is not possible to gain extra spaces. So that's why we moved it also off the goals list. Dawn, I'll let you take this streetscape for 2020-2021 sub-grantee agreements. I'll call for a motion and second to approve the streetscape project 2020 and 2021 sub-grantee agreements. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Clayton.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second's Toasty Basie. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of the Streetscape Project 2020-21 sub-grantee agreement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, Florida Program, Center County Government adopted their ordinance on May 17th. All three taxing bodies, the borough, the school district, and the county have officially joined the program. Alerta application has been developed and posted on the borough's website. There's no council action on that, just an update on Alerta.
I think that what we need to remind people now that it's passed, that we will have a maximum of 5 LERTA agreements per year.
Correct.
And then if there's more than 5, you get put on the waiting list to be considered next year. And if your project hasn't already started, then you can be considered. If it has, then you're out of luck.
Right.
And I think that information is probably on the website along with the Alerta.
It is, we actually have a full, complete copy of the ordinance attached to the application, but I'm gonna kind of break it in, put like a Q&A sheet along with the
Okay.
application. We're working on that part.
Good. Okay, and then just a reminder for June 9th from 2 to 4 p.m. That's this Thursday?
Yes.
From 2 to 4, it is recognition of celebration in council chambers for retirees, past borough members, and borough council members. So, hopefully folks can make that. Council members who attended the PSAB training are asked to, I want to just get your feedback on your experience, because being new members of council, I thought it was a good idea to share that. Barb Dan shared hers in a letter, and that was put in the packet, I didn't.
We sent
Email.
Oh, you emailed us.
We got it, yeah.
Okay. Trent,
I'd say I thought about the same thing as what Barb had put in her email. You know, number one, spending time with other council members, getting to know other council members, but actually sitting down with council members from other communities and learning what their challenges are in their community and what their challenges are within their board. And then I thought it was interesting, one of the questions I got asked the most was, do you have your own police force? That was on the top of everybody's mind, it seemed like. So when you say yes, they're like, ooh, you're one of the special ones. So I thought that was interesting because that really, kind of stuck in my mind. But also seeing the resources we have, again, through PSAB and those people that are out there who are kind of they were the heads of their departments or programs, but they were there and saying, if you have questions, let us know. Contact us. So really putting themselves out there for people. But all around, it was a learning experience. I don't think anything was actually too over my head. I was worried about that. But we had already done enough here that I had enough background to not be overwhelmed. So it was a good experience.
That's good.
I agree with Barb's letter, and it was great to sit down with you and Barb and Ralph, and we could have some real informal discussions, get to know one another a little better, and our outlook and how we can help the borough, you know. And most of my time was spent on the resolution packets, getting those confirmed. I will say, I don't know if you know this, Joanne, but the resolution 2020J Bellefonte submitted General Assembly to pass Pennsylvania health care, a bill that provides greater access to health care of our citizens, blah, blah, blah. They didn't, noted the voting delegates rejected the resolution at last year's conference, and it's not recommendation, and to not recommend for adoption of the resolution. So it's off the table. You probably already knew that.
I had figured that out already.
Okay. Well, but we spent an afternoon at the Capitol building, and we went to watch the Senate in session with Jay Corman, and then we went to the House, I think, and they had just recessed, so we didn't get to see that in action, but Representative Benninghoff was grateful to spend some time with us, listen to our concerns, willing to help us out any way that he can. We didn't get a chance to meet with Senator Corman, but he has been in touch with Mr. Stewart. And, the exchange of information was encouraging from both of our representatives. But we got a personal tour of the Capitol, state Capitol. It was very impressive. I attended similar ones that Joanna attended, and I brought back some information I was going to share with Mr. Stewart, and Randy, evaluation forms of the police department and some other things that came up. But all in all, it was very rewarding. And like Joanna said, networking with other boroughs of our size, the public needs to know that Mr. Stewart and Mr. Holderman take very good care of this borough. When we look at other boroughs that are struggling, you have a fine team here in this borough. Whether you know it or not, they work very hard to make things work for this borough.
You mean everybody's saying what I would have said. It was a great opportunity to get to know each other, work better together, I think, in the long run. And just picking up on what Doug just said, it is a team effort. You know, there's the council, the mayor, the staff. We all work together. The police department. We all work together to make things successful. And these things we bond. We're going to classes. We're being there pretty much from morning to night together. You can't help but bond together. So it's worth that. And I think we have a good, strong. We'll have a better working relationship, and if you were to go, I think that's what you would gain from it, is we bond together, we work better together when we're here. You know, I think we can cooperate, we can listen better to each other and see everybody's point of view and be very, very successful. So I think that's extremely valuable. And I have to just say, whatever we're doing, we must be doing something right, because we have far less problems than a lot of boroughs and a lot of councils do. And we've been that way for a long time, but we've been very successful, and I think we're going to stay that way.
Good. I did attend director's meeting on Saturday. I actually went to the orientation because when I first get on PSAB, I wasn't able to do the orientation. I don't even know if they had one. That was the first time I ever saw it. So that was about a 2-hour meeting, and then we had our director's meeting from 3 to 5:30, I believe it was. So everything, when it usually does for a director's meeting. And, but that was on Saturday. I was down there a day earlier than everybody else. And through other commitments, I had to leave then. Okay, with nothing else, we'll move into new business. Appreciate your comments. It's nice that you had a positive interaction down there. So we talked about dual membership at the work session, and it's on new business. It's the first item. I have it here as dual membership with PSAB and PA Municipal League. I can do one or two things. We can call for a motion to end the dual membership by dropping the municipal league, or we could table.
I move to table.
There's a motion to table. Is there a second?
I'll second Sedgwick.
Sedgwick. Do you have a date or anything you want to table it to?
I think probably towards November. That way we'll know more about the budget at that time.
Yep. Okay, all those in favor of tabling the dual membership, PSAB, PA Municipal League, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against, same motion. Okay, that passes. Then if you have it on here about request for proposals to complete for borough insurance coverage, and I agree it's a good practice to do this every 3 to 5 years, but there's no action required. Do we need a motion for
No.
that? Okay, that's just going to be done exactly.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Because we're not having motion, so you're just letting us know that you're sending out the proposals, and once you come up with whatever comes back, that'll come back to council for a decision, or what?
Well, I'm going to go out for proposals. It's professional services. It's not a formal bidding process where we open them in a public meeting. I probably will have staff with me when I open them, but I plan to come back with numbers and propose a recommendation.
And that's what we'll vote on.
Yeah, probably no later than the second meeting in July, somewhere in that time frame. So that's my plan right now. We'd make a decision or make a formal approval of the second meeting in July, and then get everything in place for August 1st.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Looks to have a little bit of a correction here. The next item is to consider goals for the next scheduled council work session. That will be on 6/21, did we say?
6/21, yes.
Is there any suggestions tonight?
Could we revisit this school resource officer agreement? Just in case anything needs to be changed or updated prior to the next school year.
When do they do, their budget comes up in
July.
July?
Yes, they're actually finishing their budget right now.
So doing it in June is probably a very good idea.
Okay, anybody else have anything?
Should we invite the superintendent to that meeting?
I'm not
Well,
sure
I
what we're
mean, if
looking
you
at
have a
at this
specific
point.
question, or if there's like something, we can, I mean, Sean usually is in touch with the school personnel. If there's a specific part or discussion or some sticking point, you know, we can relay that to the superintendent. I wouldn't want him to come in blind and, you know, we
Okay.
don't know what the issue is, or, you know, if there is any issue, you know.
Just a good idea to revisit it
Yes,
at this point.
sure.
And I think, Sean, I think what might be helpful is talking about how you've changed, how you handle the school resource officer and the traffic control issues at the schools might be helpful for everyone to understand and see if needs to be any tweaking to that.
We'll over all that and figure it out. And, maybe we can get together when we do our agenda planning.
Yes.
Okay. Next item is public comments regarding items not on the agenda. Are there any comments not on the agenda? Seeing none, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I didn't know he was coming up. I looked up.
Scott Marger at 328 East Lamb Street. I'd just like to thank Brett Meyer and his coworker for placing the American flags around town on Memorial Day. They were doing it bright and early, around 6 in the morning. I'd also like to thank all the Bellefonte Borough employees that do an excellent job in cleaning our streets, picking up refuse or whatever their duties are. If it's not raining, I'm walking through town every morning and witness the great job that they're doing. I don't think they get enough praise for the work that they do, and I'd like to thank the guys for the great work that they did in picking up the branches, brush, etc. after the downburst on March 31st. They did a quick job in cleaning everything up, and the guys deserve credit for that. Those guys worked hard.
Thank you,
So-
Mr. Margaret.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Am I allowed to say?
Yeah.
I got a little list here.
Okay.
Earlier this year, or was it last year, we approved the Victorian Christmas and the HBI event for, at the end of the year. And last year, there was some communication, lack of communication
that was
between the
between-
two
It's
organizations.
between the Arts and Crafts Fair
Yeah,
and
yeah. So during the approval process, we said we would keep an update on how those negotiations or those two entities are.
Just a minute, that wasn't the Arts and Crafts Fair, it was the DBI.
The winter
was-
market.
Yeah. What's the
It was the
winter
winter
market?
market
Yeah,
and the
B-
HBI, BHCA's Arts and Crafts Fair. Both of them were
Okay.
doing the same sorts of things, and there was no communication between the two.
correct.
Yeah,
But it
So,
wasn't the summer.
when we approved both events, we wanted to make sure that they were in touch with one another throughout the process of rescheduling. So who do we make sure that those negotiations or those?
I think they sent a letter out saying that they had spoken and everything was working.
So far,
I know-
so good?
I know one thing, the market changed their date. They're not gonna be on the same day
Okay.
as
so
the
that
Christmas.
resolves the problem.
It does not solve the
It
problem?
does solve the problem.
Okay. I just wanted to bring that up again to make sure that there's some interaction between the two organizations, that we don't get any bad feelings between the two again this year. That's one comment. Another one is, I think, Joanne, I can't remember, I think you're at the table, junior council member.
Oh, right.
Were you in, when you and I, Barb, I think Ralph was there too.
Yeah.
In years past, we've reached out to the school district to provide a junior council member on this council. In years past, we've made the request, but we've gotten nowhere. I think with Rita and Buddy in the school district, who may have some influence, I think our stumbling block was an advisor for the student who would be recommended to be the junior council member on the borough council. So I'm asking us to reconsider that, and I'm trying to think how we would go through that process. Any ideas on, from you, Rita, what we might do to make that work, advertise it in the school
Yeah.
for September?
It might be set up similarly to the student reps that they have on the school board
Yeah.
as well.
Oh,
So-
yeah. That'd be good.
So,
Is that something we need to have a motion to do, or should we just have you
I
get some
think we can look
information
into it
first
right
and
now,
then?
because we need to make sure the school district has interest in it.
yeah, yeah.
That's the big
I
thing right there.
can take care of that.
If you could figure that out and then bring it back, and then we'll move on with it.
Super.
If we could start that in
Thanks.
September, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you.
Good.
You could talk to Ed Fitzgerald, handled it in the past
Okay.
when we had junior council members.
One other thing was, I've had a couple questions about what the borough is doing with the subway building, the armory building, and waterfront properties. People see us mowing the lawn. I know we get in-kind services for that. If you would kindly put together something, or you could report now.
Well,
if you
I can give you a brief.
Sure.
Oral report. The subway property is being used by the county / contractor that does the COVID testing. It was an empty building. They were short on space or didn't have a space. And of course, we had the space setting empty. So they said, could they use the building? And we said, yes. They said they can't give us a direct lease amount, but they have COVID funds. They would work with us on that. That's the best I can answer.
You'll cover the cost, let's put it that
Cover
way.
Sure.
the cost of using the building. The armory property, we did close on the property. You see some grass cutting taking place. That is by, I believe, a complete contractor arrangement. And we still have some items stored in the building, and so does some of the nonprofits like Victorian Christmas and HBI and so on. They're trying to find homes for their things, and so are we. We're clearing out some space at our building in Musser Lane. But there's no rent involved, there's no cost to us. We have a very good relationship with the new owner. He is working through his plans of redeveloping the property. We've not seen those plans, but he said there's no hurry. You know, so we're moving as best we can, you know, rainy days, whatever. We use our own labor to move things around. So that's kind of what we're doing with the Armory property. And lastly, the waterfront property, we sold that in December of 2019. And then the question was, you know, can the public be on the green space? And we talked about it with council at the time, and we agreed to yes. We worked in arrangement with the property owners that basically went as if we cut the grass, they would allow the public to be on the property. We checked with our insurance company. There was absolutely no additional cost for liability coverage if the public was on the property. So we agreed to cut the grass and leave the public on the property kind of as extra green space. So that's what we've been doing since, now unfortunately, you know, COVID hit a few months after that. So the project has been on hold up until now, but we've seen, you know, obviously a more serious effort to get all the permits, get all the paperwork finished, and hopefully start some type of construction here soon. So we're optimistic that'll happen.
Thank you.
Ralph, can I clarify for Doug, because I don't want any miscommunication in the public on the Armory property. We have a parks person that is a part-time employee for the borough. He also cuts grass as a private entity on the side. He is cutting the Armory property. He worked out the agreement with the new owner. He's using his equipment, and he's doing it on not borough time, but his time.
Good.
So in case someone sees, you know, parks employee doing it, he's not doing it on borough time. That just to be clear.
Yeah, thank you, Don. Thank you.
Any other?
Sure.
Yeah, great.
Okay. Any other comments not on the agenda? Seeing none, have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Clayton, have a second.
I'll second.
McKean, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. 8:30.